Welcome to the Anxiety Connection. If you've ever struggled with anxiety and are ready to finally get some answers, you've come to the right place. Hi, my name is Wendy Leeds, and I've suffered with anxiety my entire life. Thankfully, I'm also a psychotherapist, and over the years, I've learned a lot about anxiety, where it comes from, and how to manage it. That's what this podcast is all about. So, let's grab a cup of tea and talk about it. Well, it's certainly been a year of change. And guess what? More change coming. As we move towards the promise of herd immunity, we're going to be able to get back to in-person living again, whatever that's going to look like. And while on one hand, this is such good news. After all, this is what we've been waiting for all these months. On the other hand, I think these coming changes have a lot of us worried. When's it safe to go back out? What's it going to be like? What's it going to look like? Will I go back to working in person, or will I stay working at home? What about school? How's that? We're going to handle that. Can I go out to eat safely to a friend's house? What about travel? And what about concerts and weddings? I mean, we have so many questions. The problem is, there just aren't many answers yet. And that not knowing, that uncertainty is making us all anxious. And for those of us, you and I, my fellow anxiety sufferers, for those of us who are already anxious, this makes this time particularly tough, because I don't know about you, but my anxiety is in overdrive these days. And I hear the same thing from so many of the people I talk with. And while I admit I don't have answers to all of those when and how questions, I don't think anybody does at this point. But what I do have for you today are 4 simple things you can do, we can do right now. No matter where you are in the re-entry process, these are 4 things we can do to strengthen and empower ourselves, to get ourselves ready to be able to handle anything, no matter what that comes our way. No more sitting around worrying. Nope, that's over. We're not going to be waiting for answers because they may or may not come. Because here's the deal. We don't have any control over those answers, when and how they come. But what we do have control over is how we respond, how we prepare, how we get ready for whatever lies ahead. And what I know for absolute true is one of the best, most effective ways to deal with worry and fear and all of this shared anxiety is to get busy. Here's what I know. Action is the answer to anxiety. Action defeats anxiety. So today is about getting up and getting busy. Sure, change is coming, but let me remind you, you've dealt with change before. I've dealt with change before, and I'm telling us both, we have everything we need to take on the future, whatever it holds. We just need to keep reminding ourselves of that, and then to get to work. It's time to stop worrying about when and how, and it's time to roll up our sleeves and get busy. So the 4 steps. Step 1, let's get back to basics. Let's begin at the beginning. First thing you do in the morning, roll out of bed and get dressed. No more sweats, no more pajamas. I'm talking about getting dressed up every day like you're going out into the world, whether you are or not. Shower, comb your hair, wear real pants, pants with a waistline, and go crazy and add a belt if you'd like. Getting dressed every morning is a sign of respect for yourself, who you are. This is not about anybody else. It's about you. It's about the fact that you matter. Being well dressed reminds you that you are important. And it also allows you to feel empowered and ready for whatever might happen in the day ahead. If you're lounging around in sweatpants, you're not going to want to open the door to any opportunity. You're not going to feel like going out in the world, putting on that great outfit, getting dressed for the day opens that door. No matter what happens in the day ahead, when you're dressed, you are ready. And that feeling of being ready today sets you up for being ready tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that. Getting ready begins here. And while we're at it, I suggest, now I know there's going to be arguments here, but I suggest you make your bed. I make my bed every day. I know if people think it's a waste of time, but I do it because it matters to me. I think it makes my bedroom look better. It looks cleaner. And it reminds me, first thing, that no matter how tough times are around me, there are things I can do to bring a sense of order and control into my life. And I think you and I both deserve to look good and feel good. And that begins with just these two small changes to our morning routine. So step one, start each day with a positive routine that sets your day and your life up for success. Step two, to getting ready for what's coming, is to get stronger physically. If you've been spending your days lounging on what I call the common COVID perch, otherwise known as the big comfy sofa, it's time to reclaim your physical health and your strength. Now, please don't think I'm talking about going back to the gym or joining a gym or buying expensive home equipment or suiting up in the spandex and buying expensive shoes. No. I am talking about making small, healthy choices throughout your day. Go for a short walk. I love this. Keep a couple of food cans, your pears, your peaches, your peas. Keep them by your sofa and use them like hand weights. When, if you're watching a favorite show, just pick up your cans and wave them around a little bit. Or even better, stand up and run in place during the commercials or just walk around your house. These are things that get you moving. I try and get up from my computer every hour and just stretch, reach for the ceiling, hop up and down, dance around the room. The idea is to get your blood flowing and your muscles working. Now, why does this matter? There are so many reasons to get stronger physically. First of all, exercise helps your mood. We know from all sorts of research, it makes you feel better emotionally. It lifts your spirit and it eases anxiety. Let me say that again. Exercise is a great anxiety buster. But I think even more importantly than that, and I think that's pretty important, moderate exercise is a great way to boost your immune system. Especially these days, a stronger immune system gives you added protection against the flu, the cold, and COVID. So getting stronger helps you feel better emotionally, physically, and it's an added layer of protection. But the benefits of exercise don't stop there. Not only does exercise make your body stronger and healthier, it makes you more self-confident and braver. Think about it. If you know you can bike all the way up that hill without getting off your bike, or you can lift that weight or walk all the way to the coffee shop without stopping, you know you can do that. It makes you confident physically. And if you're confident about your physical capability, chances are you're going to start to feel confident in other areas of your life. I love this quote from Jillian Michaels. She says, fitness isn't about a crunch or a push-up. It's about taking your power back. So true. Exercise empowers you, it empowers us all to take control of our lives. And just as an aside, if you've gained weight throughout this COVID period, no worries. I'm going to be talking more about easy ways to deal with that weight, to lose that weight in my next podcast. So heads up, stay tuned for the next podcast. So back to business. Step 2 is get ready for what's coming by getting stronger physically, boosting your immune system, and reclaiming your self-confidence. Step 3 is to take things one small step at a time. I have learned the hard way. That's the secret to getting through any tough time, through any change, small steps. And I learned it from my mother-in-law. I'll share that when I'm feeling overwhelmed or afraid or lost, I always think of her. My mother-in-law was an amazingly wonderful, strong woman. She was a real shero, and I just feel so lucky to have known her. My mother-in-law lived with MS for more than 40 years. But here's the thing. My mother-in-law had MS, but she never let MS have her. She never let it run her life. She knew the secret of how to take charge of her life. She found her personal power, and she shared that secret with me one afternoon. I'll never forget. She and I were sitting at her kitchen table. Well, actually, it was the pantry table. I know it matters. She would care. Anyway, we were sitting at her pantry table and we were talking about some small problem I had. I don't even remember what it was. And I was complaining to her. I don't know what to do. I don't know how I'm going to get through it. And, she smiled at me and she kind of nodded knowingly, and I knew that she knew what I was talking about. And she said, I've been there, Wendy. When I was first diagnosed with the MS, I didn't know how I was going to get on with my life. I didn't know what I was going to be able to do. I had so many questions. What would happen if I can't walk or I can't see, or how do I get through this? And she went on to say she was absolutely overwhelmed with furry, with that's fear and worry, furry. My wonderful mother-in-law was sitting at a friend's house and she noticed this needle point hanging on it was a framed needle point saying hanging on the wall. And she said, it wasn't fancy or colorful. It was a really simple, very plain saying. But she said, the moment I saw that, I knew my life was going to be okay. And she said, I just kept saying to my friend how much I loved it. And her friend said, please take it with you. And she said to me, the saying was, yard by yard, life is hard. Inch by inch, it's a cinch. And she didn't have to say another word because I knew exactly what she was talking about. I'd seen that piece of needlepoint 1,000 times because it was hanging on the wall right next to her stove where she saw it every time she cooked. And she was a great cook. Let me tell you that needlepoint now hangs on my wall, and it's one of my, prized possessions. Yard by yard, life is hard. Inch by inch, it's a cinch. And that's the secret. That's how we're going to handle this change, how we handle any change. It's one small step. It's inch by inch. We don't have to figure out what we're going to do, next month or next year or 2050. We just have to figure out what we're going to do today and what we need to do now, this moment, to put us in the best place for whatever comes our way in the days to come. Truth is, things are going to shift and change. We've been through it over these past months. Things change. We're going to have more information about what's safe, what isn't, what we can do, what we can't. You're going to know more hearing other people's experience is going to tell us more about what's going to work, what's going to feel comfortable, and what isn't. So let's agree. From now on, we're going to take things one step at a time. We're going to take things inch by inch. And if we do that, guess what? The yards will take care of themselves. My mother and I guarantee it. Okay, so that was step 3. Step 4 is to tell your story differently. We know we can tell ourselves any story we want about how our future is going to look. We can tell ourselves things are going to be awful. Oh no. Or we can tell ourselves things are going to be great because we don't know. No one knows. We get to choose what we imagine. We can imagine ourselves as a victim, or we can imagine ourselves taking charge, being the hero of our story, being the one who makes life happen the way we want. It's our story to tell, and we get to tell it the way we want. Awful, great, our choice. So why not, I'm thinking to myself and sharing with you, why not choose to make the story you tell yourself one of fun and adventure, one that makes you smile or get excited about the possibilities? Tell the story of what you want your life to be and tell it with energy and enthusiasm. A story where good things happen and things work out for you. And if you want to make it really resonate and memorable, add all the details you can think of. How is this life going to look? How's it going to feel? What's it going to sound like? How are you going to feel getting up in the morning? How are you going to feel as you go through the day? Now, think about how would you tell a friend about this wonderful life you're looking forward to? You can tell it that way too. What words would you like to use to describe this life? Exciting, or maybe relaxed, focused, balanced, organized, slower paced, faster paced. You can decide, you can imagine it the way you wish. And let me just say, this is a great moment to take some time and decide what it is you really want. I mean, really want, not what your mother or father told you wanted. This is about what you want with all your heart. And once you have a clear vision of that, make the story you tell yourself about that. Tell the story of you reaching out, working for what you really want. Because the more you tell yourself that story, the more likely you are to start to believe it. And when you start to believe that it's possible, who's to say it isn't going to happen for you? Maybe not, but the more you focus on the possibilities, the better your life is going to be. Step 4 is to start telling the story of what you want, not what you fear. I'm asking you today to leave that fear behind and let's step together into a future full of possibilities. That's how we move forward in the months ahead. I just want to wrap things up by saying this is the second podcast in a series of 3 podcasts on coming back from COVID. The first podcast was 6 steps to rebuilding relationships after COVID. And if you're worried about reconnecting with the people in your life, I hope you'll give it a listen. The third podcast is going to be how we can get rid of those COVID pounds once and for all and come back feeling fit and fabulous. So stay tuned. And until we're together again, I wish you peace, joy, and love. Thanks so much for being here with us today at the Anxiety Connection. If you'd like to be a part of the Anxiety Connection, we would so love to have you join us. Just subscribe and you're in. It's that easy. Now, if you found today's message helpful in any way, I would be so honored if you'd leave us a review. And if you haven't heard, my new book has been published. It's called Calm and Sense, A Woman's Guide to Living Anxiety Free. And it's full of tools and techniques you can use to help ease your anxiety, soothe your panic, and create a calm, centered peace in your heart and in your life. If you'd like to learn more about how this book can help you, or grab a copy for yourself, you'll find a link to the book in the show notes or on my website, wendyleeds.com. And if you know someone in your life who's struggling with anxiety, why not pick up a copy for them too? What a thoughtful gift for someone who might be going through a tough time. Thanks again for being here, and I look forward to being together with you real soon.